Hi everyone. So we are now up to week number 11 of our live chats that Stu and I run. So this week we have another special guest on. So I'll just invite and then we'll get cracking. Hi Stu.
Hello, mate. You good?
Yeah, good. Thanks. You?
I'm ducking and diving.
Oh, good. I've just invited. I was just saying there. So we've got Kenneth on tonight. I've just invited him in. So hopefully his invitation comes through pretty soon.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
What week?
tonight's.
What week are we in now, Matt?
Well, it is 11, but I haven't got 11 fingers.
Put 10 up. That's good. 11 weeks of swim nerdery.
I
That's
know.
pretty
I
awesome.
know. Yeah. So. Oh, hi, Kenneth.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so Kenneth, just obviously I'll introduce you to Stuart. So Stuart runs the SwimCube a bit further south than where we are. So he's got his own endless pool facility, focusing on one-to-one work.
Hi, Kenneth. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So obviously a massive thank you and a massive well done, Kenneth, on winning Ironman Lanzarote recently, which is obviously a fantastic win for you.
Yeah, it feels like ages ago, honestly. Yeah, I can't compare my shape now with the end of May, but
I think there's been
yeah,
quite a lot of changes since then. I think, hasn't there?
yeah, sadly, yeah. I got an injury in beginning of August, actually in the UK. Just that was yeah. Stupid training, I will just say it like that. I was running, I wasn't paying any attention, and twisted my foot, ankle, and then one of my bones had actually already, I'm suffering already with it for a long time, got really bad inflamed, and yeah, they said after Ironman Hawaii, I think it's the best that we just take it away. So yeah, we are now, I think 6, 7 weeks later. I can walk again, pain free. I can swim again. I can bike again, but running, that's still an issue, but yeah, we will get there.
Yeah, I'm
How
sure you
long?
will.
How long before you can run again?
Good question.
The $1 million question. There.
Yeah, they said if you walk into the office, the doctor's office after 6 weeks without the boot on, pain free, it's a win. I was walking after 4 weeks without a boot, without pain. So I was like, yes, small victory. But then, yeah, I wasn't paying attention too much, and I was running through the rain to my car, and I was like, oh, I can run again. But then in the evening, wasn't good at all.
Right.
The tendon got inflamed, so I got a setback of like 1 or 2 weeks again. So that's it's really tricky. Like, yeah,
hmm
maybe next week I start to do a small run again, and then I don't have pain the next day. So it's just fingers crossed and hope everything comes yeah, good soon.
I'm
I will
sure it
say it
will.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Yeah.
will. So
Good luck.
just a quick introduction, Kenneth. So for some people who have obviously joined us
Mhm.
watching this, is what's your background? So were you a cyclist to begin with? So what's your background, sort of
Yeah.
pre-triathlon?
hmm I played football until I was 16. I was playing as a midfielder, and let's say I wasn't one of the tallest guys on the field. So every game I just got like physically beaten up, I will just say like that. And I lost the love for the sport. And then in my hometown, actually, where my parents still live, there was every year a local duathlon. And my dad said to me, like, if you want to race the duathlon, you can. Your granddad still has a really old bike. You can use that one, with the shifters on the frame, like an old Eddie Merckx. And I used that bike. I did my first duathlon race. I think I was then 16, 17 years old. I won it. And my dad said before the race, like, if you win today, you will get a new bike. So I won, I got a new bike, and I just ran into duathlon actually. I can say I was pretty good at it in a young age. I was racing in the French competitions, the Grand Prix races, was in the best team there. I did Europeans. I won the Europeans as a U23 guy, also afterwards as an elite guy. And I was like, I'm 23, 24 years old. I want more. And in Belgium, you have a lot of really good athletes on the long distance. But then you have Luc Verleer and Frederik Verleer that both won Ironman Hawaii. They live really close by. And I was like, oh, I really want to go to Hawaii one day. And it's just, the finish lines of those two, it's just really like an iconic video here in Belgium. And I got in contact with Luc one day. I still remember actually that was on the race in Turkey, 70.3 Ironman. And the day before the race, still remember really well. I was driving the car. It was really like they predicted the storm, really choppy water in the sea. As a bad swimmer, I was like, oh, how will that go? And Luc said, I give you one advice. He was my coach here then. Don't look behind, because nobody will be behind you. Just look forward. And that was actually the start of our really like an interaction. And then that winter we started to work together. He became my coach, and I went to triathlon more. And I became a professional in triathlon. Yeah.
So can I just chip in with a question on that? It was one of the questions I had for you actually when I was kind of looking a little bit online around the things that you've done. So you had obviously you played a lot of football. You went into triathlon, so you had no kind of swimming background at all at the point you sort of embarked on that triathlon journey.
Yeah, I think my first real swim session, I think was 22 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's still why I'm suffering in the swim. That's my weakest of the three. I know that, and I will always have to work hard on it. We just have a 8-week-old baby. I already said to my wife, she's an ex-swimmer. We will go with her to the swim school. She has to follow swim lessons at an early age, because you never lose that advantage that you have in the later of your when you. Well,
at least you'll be awake for the early morning swim sessions then with an 8-week-old baby, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's quite okay for the moment. I can't complain. Touch wood, but I can't complain. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think you've kind of sort of led on to my next question, Kenneth, to be honest. In that obviously you've mentioned that swimming's not the strongest of your three disciplines. So how much emphasis do you actually put on putting into technique in your sessions, and how much time do you spend on it?
Every session, it comes back. So after Ironman Lanzarote and May that I won, we saw like, for Ironman Hawaii, what do I have to do? Because I know like swimming is my weakest. How can we improve this? So then I went actually to a coaching group that they all swim together with Coach Wouter de Reyke. He has a lot of experience on high level swimming. They always swim together. And I said like, please can I join? Because I need a coach on the sideline that actually gives more variety in my trainings, that it's not just you swim a continuous pace, so a lot more interval sessions, but also somebody that is there to look to me what I'm doing, and then also can say like, okay, you have to put your focus this session on just say something a high elbow, and that's a necessary step, I think, for me especially. So you have every session that technique, but also the coach on the sideline that just coaches, and that's what swimmers actually do. But triathletes, we have a lot of trainings, and we just go to the pool and you swim, you do your session. But that environment of a training group is for me really necessary.
So I think with Stu and I being total swim nerds, self-confessed swim nerds, and we sort of live and breathe swimming, what would you actually think? What would you think is the most important part of your stroke that you need to work on?
My rotation.
Okay.
Yeah. So now when I'm doing the rehab for my foot, I go to like a rehab center, say like that, and we really figured out over there that my rotation is not the best at all. Like the cross, I say it using my cross muscles. I'm not flexible, so these are the things I have to work on, that I can just actually have a smooth catch and stroke without having to put a lot of effort in it. Because for me, sometimes it's like when I go over with a high elbow, I can already feel it on the other side, like, oh, it's too tight, and then yeah, you drop straight away, and your catch is not good. So these are like the small things now that can have a big impact, I think, on my swimming.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you mentioned your injury there, and obviously when you've had your rehab and stuff. Obviously, I know you've been injured recently. How do you stay motivated for the absolute love of what you do?
Good question. No, let's say the last 2 months, like, it was quite tough. This injury was actually on the worst moment that it could be, before Ironman Hawaii. But afterwards, like, I just know I had to do it. That's actually one of the things, like, I had to do it. If I wouldn't have done the surgery, maybe the inflammation would have gone. But then, yeah, within 2-3 months, when I start running again on a higher intensity, it could come back. So that was a motivation to do, but also that I want to have a longer career still. Like, I won already an Ironman. That was my biggest goal of my life. But I want to win more Ironmans now, and like, not only Lanzarote. I know I can do it also. I can do it also on different courses, and especially also now the World Champs. Maybe you know, maybe you don't, but it's now every other year it will be in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Every other year it will be, like, this year it will be in Nice. Nice is for me the course. Like, if I could choose a course to do a World Champs on, it would be Nice. So for me, with my weights and watts that I can push in the climbing, it will be a big advantage.
Yeah. I wondered about that actually, Kenneth, when I was looking at, because obviously selecting Ironman Lanzarote as the one to do is widely regarded to be the most challenging of the Ironman courses. I think that and Wales is up there too. And it is I made the assumption that was because you must be good on climbs and on the bike, and it sounds like that's the case. Huh?
Yeah.
So you deliberately look for the tough courses. Huh?
Yeah, it's the more, like, how you say, man against man battle over there.
Yeah.
Like, not implying that the other guys draft, but you could see it in Hawaii. The first 2 hours on the bike in Hawaii, did my best 2 hours ever on the race, and I still lost time. And it's not because I wasn't biking well, it was just because I wasn't in the group. I wasn't in the race atmosphere with the motorbikes, and that's just how it is. So that's why I know if I want to be competitive in Hawaii, I really have to swim a lot faster to be in that last pack. And when you're in the pack, it's a lot more easier, with the same effort. And that's just how racing is now these days. The level goes up and up and up. And in the past, it was more, and every race a man against man battle. But now on the toughest courses, that's still possible. But on the really fast courses, it's almost, wouldn't say, in Mission Impossible.
Sorry, Matty, do you mind if I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
so sorry, I've got my dog demanding attention at the same time. So what would you say the differences were swim-wise between Lanza and Ironman? Obviously, there's a difference in that one's skins. I don't think, was Lanzarote skins as well,
wetsuit.
Or no?
Yeah.
Wetsuit, right? How much of an impact does that have with you?
I think it was quite okay. The biggest difference in Lanzarote and Hawaii was, so the week before I did the swim race there. I swam 54 minutes, and I thought, like, 54 minutes is normally just enough, just not enough to be in the pack. But then on race day, I swam I think 59. Even I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but the biggest difference also between the race day and the race before was I was swimming in a bigger pack. On Ironman Hawaii, you're there with the 50 best triathletes in the world. And on Lanzarote, you're also with a field of 50 pro triathletes. They are not all the best athletes. So I always have somebody to swim with. But on the World Champs, the level is so high. Yeah, we ended up with 2 alone, and that's how it is.
Big difference.
Yeah.
And so, what's the swim course like in Nice?
I think it's with an Australian exit. It just, you go out and go back, and then go out again and come back. I think that, but they can change it. Normally also without wetsuit in September. But yeah, I think that's okay. We're already swimming in the sea, so you're already higher in the water. So yeah, I don't have really like a disadvantage, I think, with swimming with a skin suit than with a wetsuit.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matty, I had to jump in there. I hand it back over to you.
No, I'm quite happy listening. It's lovely. So obviously you're just chatting about the difference between skins and a wetsuit and things. So how do you feel that your technique differs from pool to open water?
I think last time that we swam together, I think we could see a big difference in my turns and your turns. So my turning in the pool, that's actually, I think I lose a lot of speed every time over there. So I have that advantage when I go into open water. I don't have the turns there, so I can just keep my own pace. That's why I think I'm better in open water. I'm also really good in my eyes in swimming in the feet if I can catch them. So once I'm in the feed, I really can follow it and be like a small pit bull in the feed. And I think also my navigating in open water is quite okay. And these are all the advantages that in the pool. It's just you look to the line and every, let's say 14, 15 strokes, there's a turn, so you have to catch up again with the guys that you're swimming with. And I feel that's sometimes the hardest part of swimming in a group, that they are better than me in turning, so you have to accelerate again to get back into the feed. So it's all the time a little bit like, so that's the biggest difference. Yeah.
So do you practice any open water skills in the pool?
Yeah, we have, where I live here, we have actually a 50-meter outdoor pool. Yeah, so that's really nice. It's heated, but it's not, it's like, it goes up to 24 degrees. So if the sun is out, it's perfect. But if it's a cloudy day or windy, then it's quite cold. And then I just swim with a skin suit or even with the wetsuit. And then there we really try to, practice it. I don't swim that often in open water in Belgium because it's quite difficult to find a good place that is checked, especially because a few years ago I had a really bad bacteria in my stomach and intestines, so I really have to be careful with that. So I mostly do it in the 50-meter outer pool.
That's interesting. And I think one of the things that Stu and I chat about week after week is various things around swimming. And we had one week where we talked about different drills. So drills that we like to do, drills that we don't like to do, drills that we find are beneficial and some that aren't. When you are training in the pool, do you have like a quantity of drills that you tend to use all the time, or do you try and change them?
Try to change them, but if I feel like this morning, I didn't have the best feeling in the water, and then I just try to do like the drill, that the one arm, like single arm drill. And I feel when I'm doing that, you really do a good catch, because you have to, otherwise you're just stuck on one place. And if I do that a few times, like I switch every 25 meters, like maybe 4 times or something, when I then just swim 100, 200 meters, I feel straight away that I can catch the water better. So that's one of my like hacks when I feel like, ooh, this is not a good day. Just to loosen up the shoulders, just to stimulate the muscles a little bit extra, just to push out more.
Matt and I have kind of talked about that across these 10 other weeks that we've done, I think it is now. We've talked a bit about drills, and one of my kind of key messages that I'd like to get across to people is that drills themselves don't do anything on their own. The important part of drills is kind of what you've described there. It's translating that thing that you're focusing on in the drill into your swim off that drill, and look for the same feeling as you just described. But can I just ask another question while we're on that sort of training theme?
Yeah.
So how often do you swim now as a pro?
Now I swim 5 times and sometimes 6 times. It was less, but now we try to build up again. But I want to have like now 6 times. It's actually only on the Sunday that I don't swim now these days.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I just have to do it. Yeah.
Is that a recent change that you've upped the volume, or?
Yeah, especially also with my foot. I can't run, so I bike a lot now. And also with swim, I don't swim every day then with the group. But because we have about 5 minutes here, a pool. And then even if it's only an hour, I'm just in the water for an hour, you know. So I just now it's really the focus on how to swim better and faster and get stronger, especially stronger.
Yeah.
So with that then, so what sort of volume are you covering average a week?
Say between 20 to 25. It really depends on week to week. Average is normally like the Monday and the Friday. It's only an hour that I swim. So then it's mostly, sometimes it's like one of the sessions is mostly on focus on drills and water feeling, and the other one is really like more a speed session. And then in between, it's mostly between 4.5 to 5K.
That's really good going. And I think what's quite refreshing for me to listen to, Stu, I'm not sure about yourself, is that even at elite level sport and elite competition, the basic things are still worked on consistently.
I definitely. I think that, you know, there's a few, Matt and I have spoken a bit about triathlon. Both of us I see lots of triathletes at mine of all different levels. And I think that the nice thing to hear from what you're saying is that a lot of triathletes, certainly not at the pointy end that you're at, will say to me, oh, well, I want to get a bit faster at my swim, but it's only a small portion. And actually being better in the water, as you said, can make a huge difference to the rest of the race, both in terms of the pack that you're in, but also in terms of how you feel when you get out of the water and have to get on the bike. You know, that efficiency element. So the level of consistency you're talking about there, you know, swimming 5-6 times a week, that's fantastic. You know, that's kind of what you see in swim clubs.
How it should be.
It's really good to yeah, definitely. Well, obviously you're talking to two slightly biased swim geeks here. Who I don't know about Matt, but I don't go near any of the land sports. But no, it's really nice to hear. So what's your plans then in terms? Obviously, swimming. The focus on swimming is not lost on you. But what are your plans moving forward? What are you racing this season?
It all depends on my foot, but for the moment we have, I think it's the 7th May, the World Champs of long distance triathlon of ITU, so the International Triathlon Union. That's in Ibiza. So it's 3, 120, 30. So it's not a full distance triathlon, but it's actually in my eyes the perfect preparation towards Ironman Lanzarote 2 weeks later. And I hope, it all depends how we recover from those 2 races, that I can race Ironman Nice in June. I think it's the 26th June or something. So a month and a week later. So 5 weeks after Ironman Lanzarote, I would do another Ironman. So that's quite a busy.
It's intense,
yeah. But I think I need it. I will say it like that. I want to race Lanzarote because I won there last year. I want to defend my title. I think that's more also to honor the race. And I want to do Nice. That's my the long-term goal of racing Nice, and that's finally, and especially if I could race Nice and I would be qualified for the Worlds, it's a really big advantage that I already did the race.
It sounds like it's worked out well that everyone has different opinions on that change that you said with Nice and Kona, but it sounds like for you it's not such a bad thing, huh?
No, if I'm honest,
could work out well.
But I really understand. Like the people that are qualified, they normally go with the family, do the trip to Hawaii. Nice will not be the same. But I think for the growth of the sport, we'll just say it like that, and especially for the professionals, it's necessary that they do the change between two venues. I wasn't there before this year's race, but in my eyes, it was too busy for the island. It was just too crowded. And I think it also it loses a little bit of its it's hard to describe. Like, I really imagined Hawaii different. I will just say it like that. More
right.
Open.
It was just, it's really crowded. It's a huge event, of course, but 4,000 athletes. Kona, it's not a big. It's like a town. Also for the people over there, like a lot of traffic. I think it's better with 2,000 athletes, but it's hard. I think especially for families that like husband and wife both are qualified, or like a son or something, or a friend. And that's not nice at all. Plus, like, mostly the people, they will still do the trip, so it's actually a double expense for them. And then in that end, triathlon gets again a more an elite sport. It's already so expensive, and that's also a shame then. So it's like it's a difficult situation.
That's another thing that I've seen certainly over the years dotted around the media, is that kind of idea of triathlon in terms of it being an elitist kind of sport. I guess you can have a go at triathlon. It's expensive when you get to the level of really competing, but it seems like a sport that remains fairly open to everybody. It's certainly at the beginner end, you know. What's your thought on that?
It's true. Like, everybody can just do a start to triathlon, or just do an Olympic distance. Even you can do an Ironman distance with just the basic stuff. But the basic stuff is still, you need a wetsuit in most cases. You need a bike, and need running shoes. So it's not just like, if you, for example, say, I will do say something, open water swim next to your speedos and your goals. You don't need anything. But if you just say, I want to do a triathlon, you need straight away a bike. And now these days, even a cheap bike, it's more than 1,000 pounds. And then you have such a big range in bikes if you want to be competitive and then qualify mostly to go to Hawaii. Then it's almost impossible. Some people do it, but compete with a road bike against a time trial bike on certain courses is just it's not possible to qualify then.
The comparisons are ridiculous, aren't they? It's all like you said. It's almost like swimming with a pair of shorts, like baggy shorts, compared to a pair of proper swim shorts.
That's how it is. And the level is, the last years is also with the age groupers, it's going up, and it gets especially certain age groups. It's just it's really crazy.
I see a lot of those guys at SwimCube, and I definitely see that gap narrowing. I guess you pros are looking over your shoulders at the top age group is a really something now, and they treat it, some of them, extremely seriously.
I think some of them live more professional than I do. So and that's sometimes also what, like, if you come, for example, to races and you see like an athlete, they say like, oh wow, this is like a guy that is really, really strong, but they have the biggest, the best stuff. They're really trained, and then, like, sometimes as a professional you look like, oh, I'm a professional, but is he actually better than me? Like, that's how how it is now at races these days. And wouldn't say it's quite funny, but it's
sure. But then I guess the flip side of that is that a lot of those in the younger age groups that are coming through, they start off like you did, and then they become pro. So you're always that's what you want in a competitive sport, isn't it? You want those people coming up and making noise in the sport. So that's fantastic. Sorry, Matt, I jumped in again there.
No, and especially now, I think like in triathlon and also Hawaii, I think the average age in the top 10 was 26 years old. So that's quite impressive. And all under the course record. So we can just see like the young guys are really coming up, and it's a mad world in there, because it's just like also in cycling, a lot of the young guys just pop up suddenly and they're like, oh, we're here, and the level goes like up, straight away up. Yeah.
Again, though, that's got to be quite good motivation for you to think, actually, there's some of the younger guys starting to step up now, or there's some age group athletes coming in who you've never heard of, you don't know anything about them and what their background is whatsoever, and you might be standing there and looking at them thinking, oh, what have you got?
Yeah. So like, I think I did it was in Corona times, a race in St. Polten, and you were with almost 100 professionals at the start line on a 70.3 race. And that was just madness. But all young guys that, due to Corona, they had lots of time to train and actually started to become professional. So I like normally in a half Ironman or like a challenge race, we start with 40, max 50 pros. That was suddenly like the double. It was quite intense there. So and then if you're not a good swimmer, then it's it's more fighting than swimming the first 200-300 meters.
That's my favorite part of swim races, that beginning bit, the fight. You mentioned the pandemic there, and before that kind of slips under the radar. How impactful was that on you and your training?
Good question. I got, at that moment, I had a Danish coach. I was doing lots of hours. My training peaks was actually going up like a mountain. It was just crazy. I was feeling in the best shape ever. But then the races got all cancelled. Quite hard, because you never knew. You were training, like, I think that was actually the year I normally would do my Ironman debut, and every month you take another Ironman, and then you say, oh yeah, we go to this Ironman, and then that one gets cancelled. Then you go on the whole season, and actually by the end you can race. I was actually I was burned out, like I was empty. I was ready for off season. So physically it was quite a hard year, but I learned a lot of it. And mentally, I was really lucky that one of my main partners, it's you, I could actually start to work with them as an independent guy, just working from home, earn some extra money also, because I didn't have an income from races, so I didn't have that pressure of how I have to get money every end of the month. And that also helped me actually mentally, because I could do something, like I was learning a lot of new stuff. It was a whole new world for me. It's in human resources, so it's really like, everything actually that I never did before, I will just say like that. So for me, that was a whole new world, and that was like at the perfect timing that came. But I know lots of guys that actually had a burnout afterwards, and that was the end of their career.
Yeah, I can imagine. Could you swim still? Did you? I don't know what the rules were where you are, but
the
could you
pools
swim?
were closed. I think the first 2 months I couldn't swim, but then I got from the government. I was allowed to swim in the local pool. There had to be a lifeguard, but I was the only guy in the pool there.
Yeah, there was similar kind of dispensation here for professional athletes, which I think is a really good thing. I mean, that's your job.
Yeah.
So it's good that you could still swim. Fantastic. Sorry, Matty. I'll hand back to you.
Oh, hello. No, so I think one of the things that I'm quite interested in is obviously winning Lanzarote last year and having all the struggles that you've had with injury. How did it actually feel crossing that finish line, knowing everything that you'd gone through? What was that feeling like?
I wouldn't say I get emotional now about it. Like, if I think about it, I get goosebumps. Let's say it was quite hard. At certain points, I really thought I would just stop. Like, it's the end. Like, this is the injury too much. But then at the end, like, when I knew I would win, I stopped at the aid station to drink a Coke, like, because I started to shake just out of like my emotions, not because I was tired or had like a sugar dip. I was just, I needed something to, So the last kilometer was, I could enjoy it. Could see my wife before the finish line. Also the people that really supported me were there. And then, the moment I cross that finish line, when you can put up that banner in the air, I started to cry. And I think I cried for maybe 5 minutes just on the ground on my knees. Couldn't believe it. It was like a dream. The evening before, like pre-race nerves, I couldn't sleep, and with my wife we were like, how would the perfect day look like? And that was it. Like that was the perfect day. And so much emotion and relief also. Like I did it. Like this is the reason also why I went from duathlon to triathlon. I want to win an Ironman. I want to go to Hawaii. So that was like a professional goal accomplished. And it's like 20 kilos, I will say. I don't know how much pound it is, but like a lot of weight just fell off my shoulders, cause like I was like, oh, I did it finally. I believed in myself the whole time. But sometimes you also start to doubt if it always gets if you always get injured, and then you never know if like I know physically my engine, I will say it like that, I can do it. It's just the body that has to accept it, what I want.
So with that then, so obviously you mentioned your start in duathlon. Is there any plans to do other duathlon events, or are you totally focused on like Ironman?
Last year, actually, I did, since a very long time again, a duathlon. It was the Europeans and the Worlds. I won the Europeans, and then we decided I will do the Worlds 2 weeks before Ironman Lanzarote. I got third there. I had a bad day, had again some stomach issues, but I knew there I'm in a really good shape. I can win Ironman Lanzarote, so that gave me like a confidence boost. So and for this, I would do again a duathlon. For the moment, since nothing is on my schedule for it. If the opportunity, but that's also if I wouldn't be qualified for Nice, I would love to race the Worlds in Zofingen, the long distance duathlon. Because that's one of the goals that I still want to do. I would love to become world champion in duathlon. I got already 4. I'm just thinking 3 European titles and 4 with the U23 title with it in duathlon. But I would love to have a world title. So if I wouldn't be in Nice, Ironman Nice, the Worlds in September, I will do Zofingen, the Worlds there.
Well, I'm sure you've got the sort of dedication to doing things. So I don't think that's out of your scope and ability, to be honest. What's interesting there, and I'm not sure whether you picked up on this, Stu, is you mentioned Kenneth a couple of times there that you've done competitions where you've only had 2 weeks between each competition. What's your rest period like in between those 2 weeks?
Nothing.
Really?
No, it's just some easy days. I think between the Worlds and Lanzarote was in Denmark on Sunday evening. We went to family there, and then the Monday we stayed in Denmark. Tuesday we like Monday evening we drove already apart to Germany. Tuesday we got home, and then from Wednesday again I started to train again. But on the Tuesday evening I went swimming, and on the Monday morning I had a run. So I kept doing exercising because I also feel that if I really have a rest day, I'm not the best with it. So I would rather just do like a 30-minute run or 30 minutes bike. I never go to the pool on a rest day, just for a 30-minute swim. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. So actually no rest at all.
That's surprising, that, because I mean, even probably when you were playing football, after competitions or big games, it might have been right, you must rest for 1, 2, 3 days. And the fact that you're going straight into it afterwards that's amazing.
Yeah, but I also think like after Ironman Lanzarote, of course, then I had a rest week, but I was also just planned, also mentally, just have some holidays over there. But if your body just gets used to an everyday exercise, and also the training on being tired, that also helps. For example, in my marathon, the last 10K, for everybody it's hard. It's just also how you deal with it mentally, but also how your muscles can still work when you're tired, you know, like how your stride still is when you're running. And for me, it's really important to just to have that consistency. And it's again consistency, like in swimming, to do all the three sports. And yeah, I think if your body is trained like that, you also don't need that recovery anymore after a hard race. Yeah.
You've said a key word that Stu and I have mentioned for 10 weeks now in consistency. So being consistent in your training will give you those positive outcomes and affirmations, I suppose, and the self-belief in yourself that you know that you can do it. Would you agree, Stu?
Of course. I think consistent. I kind of mentioned earlier on when you said the volume of it. I had a kind of different question actually from something you said there. I mentioned before I don't do these crazy running marathons and things like that, but I've done some pretty big swims. And I think any endurance sport, and Ironman definitely falls into the category of endurance, has a huge mental component to it. You used the word mentally a moment ago. I just wondered if that's if you actually work on the mental side of your sport as much as you do the physical, because I think it plays a huge part in those tough moments.
Yeah. Also in the period of Corona, the years, 1 or 2 years before, actually, I didn't perform anymore on the level I was used to. So I also went to a sports psychologist to actually work on that. And that helped me a lot. Long story short, there was a race in South Africa, and I really thought I would win. I think I was 3 minutes behind as second in transition to start to run in half Ironman. And after I think 5K or something, I could see him running in front of me, and I didn't took a gel because I still felt really good. And there was a hill, and after the hill I thought like, oh, with my long legs on the downhill I will just close it, but I could never close it again. I stayed on the same distance, I think for 8K or something, and then got a really hard hit, got second, and that was in the end of January. So a normal season in triathlon and duathlon starts in April, May. So there were quite a few months in between, and everybody said, oh, great start of the season. But for me, like, I just felt that I lost, you know. I should have won that race. Like, if I would redo it like 100 times, I would win 99 times. But that day I really like screwed it up. And those months afterwards, I was just with that only thing in my head, like, you didn't win, you lost the race. And due to that, actually, every race that I did, when I had a lot of nerves, because that year I was also number 1 in 70.3 Ironman in Luxembourg, because the year before I won it. On the way to the start, I think I puked 3 times, just being so nervous. I couldn't do anything. And that was just because I had that pressure. I need to win one, because you lost already one, you know. And that pressure went too high. And at that moment, I just also said then, in with Corona times, it wasn't just due to Corona, but just also I have to work on this. And that helped me a lot, just to put everything back in its perspective. Why are you doing it? For who do you do it? Like all those questions. But also try to control that trauma that I got in that race in South Africa. They used a special technique to connect my left and right brain. So it's called REM techniques. I don't know how it is in English. but they did that, and that was really like an emotional session. I was destroyed for that day, but then afterwards, like that helped me a lot, and also, and then of course the exercise they get from the psychologist. Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. Everything you've just said. I'm a big believer in the mental side of sport, and I think what I would love to see in the future is I think everyone accepts that our brains play a huge part in not just in any sport and in so many other circumstances. And I really hope that it filters down to the kids levels of sport. You know, I see a lot of kids and how much for like swim clubs or football clubs at the low level with children would it be for them to devote some time to resilience and the mental side of the sport. I'd love to see that. I think it's fantastic what you just said there, Kenneth. It's good to hear.
And that they enjoy it. Like that's the biggest thing. Again, like it wasn't fun anymore being a triathlete. Like at one stage I just hated it because the pressure got too much. Like I wasn't doing, like, of course I love to bike, swim and run. That's my passion, but because of the pressure that I got, that I had to perform, it wasn't fun anymore. So that's a big thing. Like I know also, like when I enjoy training and I'm happy during my trainings, I know I will perform. I know that. But if it gets a struggle to get, for example, out of bed, or like I'm starting to skip sessions, it's not because I don't have that consistency then anymore. It's because it's here that it's harder. And that's for me. Like I would rather be, I would just say like that, 100% mentally and 90% physically, and 90% mentally and 100% physically. Because at the end, also especially also in an Ironman, the last thing, I just already told you, last 10 kilometers is for everybody hard, but it's how deep you want to dig to get what you want, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we see it all the time in swimming, behind the blocks with kids. Just from their manner behind the block, you can see what some of them are going through and how much pressure they've put on themselves.
Yeah,
it's good. Sorry, mate.
No, that's fine. Funnily, Stu, I was going to ask you a question here. So I know obviously your daughter's like really competitive as well. And does your daughter's club have any involvement with any sports psychology or anything?
No, not really.
No.
And I think that kind of is where it comes from. You know, Kenneth, when you were talking there about how those mental things can manifest physically, you know, in physically feeling sick purely because of what your brain is doing. I've seen that in club level swimming regularly, and I just feel like it isn't that difficult at that level to get someone in, like, to talk behind the blocks resilience or you know, if I was going to sum up, my favorite thing that Kenneth said there when I mentioned about kids was the fact that sometimes, whether they're kids or pro athletes like Kenneth, you need to remember why you started doing that sport. Generally it's because you love it. That's why we're sitting here at 10 to 9 chatting about swimming when we've been chatting about swimming all day. It's because we love it.
10 to 10. I really love it.
10 to 10. Yeah, we won't keep you much longer, Kenneth.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, Matt, does that answer your question? I think it's really important.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the start of everything. Like
yeah, totally agree. And keeping training fun as well. I think that's massively crucial. You've got to love the sport that you do, but if you just slogging yourself up and down in the pool or on the bike or just going and running around the track for whatever, is that enjoyable? I'm not so sure. How does the training vary to make sure that it's fun all the time?
Yeah, good question. I think it's also like the people that you train with is really important.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, of course, sometimes it's also like you're like dragging yourself to the pool because you're tired, and that's normal, but it doesn't have to be like every day, because then you have a problem. But yeah, like I have the luck at home I have a kicker, like to train indoor on the bike. I have a treadmill. Everything is around here. Like I can bike in the Flemish Ardennes, like they from the big cycling races. Like I have so many different opportunities here to train that actually, if I wouldn't enjoy it here, I don't think,
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think having that really strong network of people around you, not just to support you through your races, but your network of training partners as well. I think that's by far superior to quite a lot of things, if I'm honest. I think because if you're training alone, it can sometimes become mind-numbing.
Yeah, especially also like, for example, in the pool, like you can be with 2 other guys that they know, but if they're doing other sets, it doesn't matter. They are there in the pool with you. Or like if you do a track session on the a running session on the track, like if you do different intervals, you see each other, you're suffering together. And that makes it also more like, I'm not here alone in the dark, for example, in the rain, running on the track. What am I doing here? No, you do it together, and you can laugh about it. And that makes a big difference. Yeah.
And I think, and it's fascinating. I mean, I know you and I have trained together a few times, Kenneth, and I think it's great to learn. So no matter how many different people you've trained with, to train with new people all the time is absolutely brilliant. So I never really knew how you swam. You never really knew how I swam. No. And obviously the first time we trained together was interesting. I think it was one of the worst sessions I think I've ever done.
By turns,
Yeah. It was 50-50s on 50. I still remember now. It's terrible. But yeah, I think, so just going back, Stu, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but Fenwick's joined. So Fenwick Ridley, Kenneth, is an ice swimmer. So he's actually out competing at the minute. And I think he's just finished one of his races today, which is absolutely brilliant.
Fenwick, while he's on, Fenwick, I know you did the kilometre today and I was working annoyingly, so I couldn't watch it on the live. How did you get on? Did you do all right?
I hope he has.
We'll wait for it. He'll answer in a minute, I'm sure.
So, Kenneth, I'm not sure.
They're out swimming in they had to break the ice first on the lake. They're doing the World Ice Swimming Championships out in France. I think it's in France.
Yeah. Oh, that would be the ideal race for me.
We can soon organise that, Kenneth. It's not a problem. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant to sort of get your perspective, Kenneth, as well, from a professional triathlete.
17:20 says.
Wow.
That's good in freezing. That's amazing. Well done.
4 degrees. 4 degrees. Wow, that's some movement.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's honestly, Kenneth, it is absolutely amazing to get your insight as a professional athlete into how sometimes you've got to focus on the simple things in training to make sure that all of your skills are on point constantly. Yeah. So you're always at the top of your game. So even from not necessarily from a swim point of view, just from a coaching point of view, having that person either on the pool side or at the running track, how much do you appreciate their involvement in terms of the feedback and the constructive feedback that they're giving you?
Yeah, I think without them, there wouldn't be the performances that I do now. It's like some people say I don't need a coach, but I don't believe in it. Like even I trained some athletes, and I think it was today on the radio. It was something about a mental coach, that even the mental coach goes to another mental coach because the coach has to be coached, and I think it's so underestimated what people all do behind the scenes. Like at the end, like if I put the banner in the air in Ironman Lanzarote, like, okay, I did all the work, but the guys behind the computer or read all the data or like put me to that shape.
Yeah,
it's because of them.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes in an individual sport, it's a team win, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially like if for example now the World Cup is finished, like the trainer, he's world champion with the team, and he will always have that on his palmarès. But like my coach, okay, he will also have an athlete that won an Ironman, but it's not the same. They're not on the same stage. So like it's still that difference.
The recognition isn't the same. Yeah. I think though, like I can't speak for every coach, but I can speak for myself. I think it's enough. Like it feels great when you see athletes achieve the things that you've helped them achieve. That's what it's all about for me.
Yeah. For me, I agree. So, it's that intrinsic motivation. It's kind of watching somebody compete or perform, or even just, I know it sounds silly, but even just change a technique and watching them succeed with a very sort of, not a simple thing, but even just like a small change. And watching the success, for me, watching them succeed is brilliant. And that's what I think for me, that's how I feel that other coaches feel. I might be wrong, Stu. I'm not sure.
No, yeah. For me it's the same. Like if I train somebody that almost has no experience in triathlon and then finish the triathlon, even that's in like, for example, 15, 16 hours, like I have the biggest respect for those people. Because actually, my wife worked on Lanzarote in the past, and I actually volunteered at race there, and I was giving the string bands. So if you have to run the loops, I think it was 11 o'clock at night. They had until 12:30 to finish, so it was pitch black already. Almost no spectators anymore, but people are still running. And at that moment, I really knew, like, oh wow, like, you know, that atmosphere, everything around it, it's amazing. And they do a lot of effort also to get to that point. Like, okay, I finished an Ironman and Lanzarote I did an 8 hours 40. It's a whole different experience, because we have to go all out, and for them it's like the goal to just reach the finish line. And then if they succeed, I think as a coach, that's just, it's a different emotion, of course, but it's amazing because you help that person to achieve a goal. And that's in my eyes, the nicest thing you can do as a coach.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Stu, have you got any more questions?
No, I just want to say a huge thanks for joining us and talking swimming tonight and talking triathlon. It's really appreciate it.
It's been fun.
I hope that injury clears up soon.
Yeah, we'll be okay. I think I will be able to run enough in my life, so I will be. If I have to wait a week longer, then that's how it is. Like, I can bike, I can swim. I'm really happy with that, so everything will be all right.
Yeah. And again, I just want to pass my thanks on as well, just obviously for taking the time. I know you're super busy at the minute, obviously with the baby and things. And it is an hour later than what Stu and I are at the minute, so I am grateful.
No, you're welcome.
But no, we'll keep posted. We'll keep checking on how you're doing and stuff. And obviously, good luck for your future races, and we'll hopefully see you winning some more competitions.
And if you still have some tips and tricks to progress my swimming, just let me know.
Well, you know where we are, Kenneth. You know where we are.
Perfect. When I'm back in the UK, we will go for a swim.
We will. Right. Well, thank you very much, Kenneth.
Good. Bye-bye.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye.